My name is Ethan Morgan. I'm 32 and I make a living turning chaos into clean, flawless execution. Corporate summits, investor launches, high-stakes conferences if it has a timeline, a budget, and zero room for error. I'm the guy people call. What I didn't expect was to become the problem my own family needed to remove. "You're not coming to the wedding." The text came from my mom. No build-up, no explanation. Just a line dropped into my phone like a final decision already signed off. A minute later, my dad followed up. "Chloe's fiancé's family doesn't think it's a good fit. They're particular about appearances." I stared at the screen, rereading it once, twice. Not because I didn't understand, but because I did. I was being cut. Not because of anything I did wrong, not because of some fight or fallout. Just optics. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I've handled last-minute cancellations, million-dollar pivots, speakers walking out an hour before showtime. Pressure doesn't shake me. But this was different. Still, I kept it simple. "So you chose status over family." The typing dots popped up, then disappeared. No answer. That told me everything. They wanted a polished guest list, a clean image for the Carsons, no loose edges, no variables. And me, I wasn't family in that equation. I was the guy behind the scenes, the one who locked in their vineyard 18 months early, negotiated every vendor down to rates they couldn't have touched, and floated thousands in deposits through my own company just to make Chloe's perfect day happen, a gift they never acknowledged. Fine, if I wasn't welcome in the room, then neither was my work. I opened my laptop, logged into the venue portal under my Events LLC, and pulled up the contract. Client Ethan Morgan. Only name on the line. I didn't hesitate. A few clicks, cancellation submitted, deposit redirected to an October corporate summit I was already planning. Then I moved down the list. Catering, lighting, transportation, music. Every contract tied to me pulled. Clean, legal, final. When I was done, I picked up my phone and sent one last message to the family group chat. "I've removed myself and my business from the wedding." A pause. Then, I added, "I hope the Carsons appreciate what you were willing to trade for their approval." Another beat. "Good luck with the wedding. You're going to need it." I set my phone face down on the table. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't fixing anything. I was letting it break. Before I tell you how badly things unraveled after that, and how far my family went trying to put the pieces back together, let me ask you something. Where are you reading this from right now? Drop your city, your time zone. I'm curious how far this mess travels. Because from the outside, a year ago, none of this would have looked unusual. We were just a normal middle-class family in Round Rock, Texas. My dad ran a small insurance office, golf on weekends, same group of guys, same routines. My mom practically lived on Facebook PTA posts, charity events, carefully curated photos that made everything look polished. And then, there were the two of us. Chloe, the golden one, the one with the clean narrative, nursing career, engagement to a guy from a well-connected family. Everything lining up exactly how my parents liked it. And me, the reliable one, the one who made things work. If you scrolled through my mom's posts, you'd see perfectly lit photos, long captions about family blessings, and not a single mention of the person behind half the logistics that made those moments happen. What you wouldn't see was a spreadsheet buried in my Google Drive. Family favors, unpaid. It started as a joke, just something I kept track of out of habit. Dates, expenses, hours. Not because I expected anything back, just because that's how my brain works. But, over time, it stopped being funny, because every entry told the same story. I showed up, I handled it, and somehow, when it was all over, my name never came up, not in speeches, not in captions, not even in passing. I wasn't part of the memory, I was just the reason it ran smoothly. That spreadsheet started the year I graduated college. I'd just landed my first real job, assistant event coordinator at a mid-sized software company in Austin. Nothing glamorous, but it was fast-paced, unpredictable, and I was good at it. My boss used to joke that I didn't get stressed, I just got organized. He wasn't wrong. Around the same time, my parents figured that out too, not in a proud way, in a useful way. It began small. "Hey, can you help plan Chloe's graduation party? You're so much better with details than we are." Of course, I booked the venue, negotiated the catering, built a timeline so everything flowed. Day of. I was there before anyone else, coordinating vendors while everyone else showed up dressed and smiling. At the end of the night, my mom hugged Chloe, took photos, posted them online. Couldn't have done it without our amazing girl. She meant Chloe. I drove home with leftover centerpieces in my trunk. Then it escalated. College move-in. Ethan, can you handle the truck? You know how to organize things. Surprise birthday party. You're great with vendors. Can you just take care of it? Engagement party for one of my mom's friends. You do this for work anyway, right? It'll be easy for you. Every time came with the same line attached to it. We'll pay you back when things calm down. They never did, at first. I didn't push it. I told myself it wasn't about the money. It was family. You help, that's what you do. Meanwhile, my career kept climbing. Assistant became coordinator. Coordinator became manager. Eventually, I was running full-scale corporate events budgets in the 7 figures. Teams reporting to me. Clients who actually understood what my work was worth. Outside my house, I was respected. Inside it, I was still the guy they called when something needed fixing. And Chloe, her life turned into a highlight reel. When she won a regional nursing award, I edited the entire video presentation that played at the ceremony. Late nights, multiple revisions, syncing audio to transitions so it felt polished. The post that went up after, so proud of our incredible daughter and everything she's accomplished. Hundreds of likes. I got a text, next time, can you use a different song? But it was fine. When she got engaged to Daniel Carson, I didn't hear it from her. I found out the same way everyone else did through a video. Downtown Austin, string lights, a violinist, perfect timing, and in the background, just off to the side, my tripod. Weeks earlier, my mom had called, hey, can we borrow your camera setup? It's just sitting there. Right, I shipped it over without thinking. Figured I'd be there anyway. Helping, adjusting angles, making sure everything looked right. Instead, I watched a stranger handle my equipment through a filtered clip on my phone. I should have said something then. I didn't. Because the next day, Chloe called, excited, loud, talking over herself. I want you to run the wedding, she said, like everything. You're the only one I trust to make it perfect. There was a pause. A small one. Just enough time for me to recognize the pattern. Then, I said it anyway. Yeah, I've got it. It started with a Pinterest board. It ended with a full operational system. Notion workspace, budget trackers, vendor pipelines, timeline down to 5-minute intervals. The kind of structure I usually built for corporate clients who couldn't afford mistakes. I treated Chloe's wedding the same way. Maybe more. I pulled favors from vendors I'd worked with for years. Locked in priority rates. Secured a hill country vineyard that was booked out more than a year in advance somewhere my family would have never even gotten a call back from without me. To make it happen, I ran the contract through my LLC. That meant my name, my liability, my card on file. The deposit alone was more than most people's monthly salary. But I didn't hesitate. Because this wasn't just another event. This was supposed to be the one where things shifted, where they finally saw me differently. At one point, I suggested looping my dad into the contract co-signer. Shared responsibility, something official. My mom shut it down immediately. Why complicate it? You handle these things all the time. You've got it. I did. That was the problem. Everything kept stacking on my side. Financial risk, vendor relationships, execution pressure. On theirs, just opinions. That should have been my first red flag. The second came during the tasting dinner with the Carsons. Long wooden table under warm lights, curated plates, staff walking us through each course like it was a performance. Mrs. Carson leaned slightly toward my mom. Her voice just low enough to sound polite. It's really generous of Ethan to help out like this, she said. I imagine event work is flexible. Nice while it lasts. There it was, not what she said, how she said it. Like my career was a placeholder. A temporary thing, something you grow out of once you get serious. I didn't respond, didn't need to. Because what mattered more was what my family did next. My dad gave a small laugh. Yeah, he's always been good with details, keeps things running. Helpful. Not successful. Not established, just useful. Conversation moved on. Chloe talked about dress fittings. The Carsons mentioned upgrades for the reception, better bar package, more floral installations. No one asked who was paying for what. No one asked if I was okay carrying all of it. I sat there, listening, watching the way decisions got made around me, as if I were both essential and invisible at the same time. On the drive home, I told myself I was overthinking it, that families are messy, that this wedding would be different, that, when it all came together, when everything ran perfectly, they'd finally recognize what I brought to the table. Looking back, that was the moment I should have stepped back. Instead, I leaned in. And that's what made what came next hit exactly as hard as it did. The third red flag didn't come in person, it came through my phone. But before that, there was one last moment I should have paid attention to. Another dinner? Smaller this time. Just immediate families. We were going over final details, timeline, seating, vendor confirmations, the kind of conversation where everything should feel locked in. Instead, it felt off. Mrs. Carson asked a lot of questions, not about the wedding itself, but about me. How long have you been doing this? Is this your long-term plan? Do you work mostly weekends on the surface? It sounded like small talk, but every question had the same undertone, assessment, like she was trying to figure out where I fit and, more importantly, where I didn't. I answered professionally, kept it clean, kept it short. I've dealt with clients like her before. What I wasn't prepared for was my own family not backing me up at one point. She smiled thinly and said, "It must be nice having someone in the family who can handle all this. Saves quite a bit, I imagine." My mom nodded immediately. "Oh, absolutely. Ethan's been a huge help. We're very lucky. Lucky. Like I was a discount, like I wasn't sitting there having fronted thousands of dollars to make this whole thing possible. I waited for something else. Anything. A correction. A clarification. Even a simple, he actually runs large-scale corporate events. Nothing came. Conversation shifted again. Chloe laughed at something Daniel said. My dad poured another drink, and just like that, I was background noise. That night, driving home, I felt it. Not anger, clarity. Still, I didn't act. Not yet, because part of me still believed this would balance out, that, when the day came, when everything was perfect, it would finally click for them. Then came the text. "You're not coming to the wedding." No build-up, no call, no conversation. Just a decision, followed by my dad's message about appearances and keeping things smooth, and suddenly, everything lined up. Every unpaid invoice. Every dismissed comment. Every time I was useful but never visible. It all snapped into place like a timeline zooming out. That wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a pattern. And I was the only one who hadn't treated it like one. The night that text came in, I didn't throw my phone, I didn't pace, didn't call anyone, didn't even swear. I just sat there at my kitchen table, staring at the screen until it dimmed, then lit back up when another notification buzzed in. "It's complicated," my dad wrote. "The Carsons have certain expectations. We don't want tension on the day. You understand." Understand, that word sat there longer than anything else, like this was a scheduling conflict, like I was supposed to nod, adjust, and make it work like I always did. I typed out a response, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Eventually, I landed on the only sentence that didn't feel like I was negotiating my own place in my family. "So you chose status over family sent." No reply. The typing dots flickered once, then disappeared. That silence, that was the answer. I set the phone down and leaned back in my chair. For a few seconds, I just stared at the ceiling, letting everything settle. Then something shifted. Not anger, not even hurt, just clarity. The same switch that flips when a keynote speaker cancels an hour before stage time. When a venue double books, when everything's about to fall apart and I have exactly one job: fix it, except this time, I wasn't fixing anything. I was reallocating. I pulled my laptop toward me and opened the wedding folder. Contracts, timelines, vendor lists, everything clean, everything organized, everything under my name. I clicked into the venue agreement first. There it was. Client Ethan Morgan, Brightline Events LLC. I scanned the cancellation clause. I'd read it before multiple times, but this time I read it differently. Not as a planner. As the client. 10 days out from the event. Cancel now. And the deposit was forfeited but transferable, meaning the money didn't disappear. It just moved. They had expected me to eat that cost quietly, to fund a wedding I wasn't even allowed to attend. That wasn't happening. I picked up my phone and called the venue manager directly. "Hey, this is Ethan Morgan with Brightline Events," I said. Voice steady, professional, neutral. A pause on the other end. "Ethan, hi. Everything okay with the wedding plans changed?" I replied. "I need to cancel the Carson booking on the 18th, and transfer the deposit to a corporate event in October. Another pause, longer this time. Wow. Okay. That's last minute. I'm aware, I said. The contract allows for transfer. I'd like to secure the October date under my client's name. There was a quiet shuffle of papers. All right, she said finally. We can make that work. I'll update the system and send over the revised confirmation. Appreciate it. By the time we hung up, the vineyard 18 months of planning. The centerpiece of their entire wedding was no longer theirs. It was mine. Repurposed. Reassigned. Closed. Next call. Catering. Same process, same result, honestly. Ethan, the chef said halfway through the call. We got a weird vibe from the family at the tasting. Didn't feel like your usual clients. Yeah, I said. Go ahead and move everything to October. Same group as the venue, no problem. Lighting, transportation, the string quartet, each vendor got a call or an email. Clean, direct, no drama. Every contract tied to my name pulled out from under the wedding and slotted into a corporate summit that would actually respect the work behind it. By the time I was done, what was left of Chloe's wedding surface-level pieces, the things my parents insisted on handling themselves, florals from a charity contact, an upgraded bar package the Carsons paid for, the kind of details that photograph well, but don't hold an event together. I leaned back in my chair, looking at the now empty wedding folder. No anger, no second-guessing, just a quiet sense of balance. For once, I wasn't overextending. I wasn't covering for anyone. I wasn't making sure everything worked at my own expense. I was just done. I picked up my phone one last time and opened the family group chat, typed slowly. I've removed myself and my business from all wedding-related contracts under my name. I paused, then added, I hope the Carsons appreciate what you were willing to trade for their approval. Another beat. Good luck with the wedding. I hit send, watched the message land, then finished it. You're going to need it. I turned my phone face down on the table and let the silence sit. For the first time in years, I wasn't the one holding everything together. In the days leading up to the wedding, my phone turned into something I avoided more than I checked. I muted the family group chat, focused on work, back-to-back calls, slide decks, vendor confirmations for the October summit that was now sitting on top of their former dream venue. On paper, everything in my world was running exactly how it should, but every so often, between meetings, I'd glance at my phone, waiting, not hoping, just expecting. The first hit came from my mom, Ethan. The venue just emailed about a contract transfer. What is going on? I didn't respond. A few minutes later, the caterer says the deposit is gone. They're asking for full payment up front or they'll cancel. This has to be a mistake. Still nothing from me. Then my dad, you can't just pull out like this. This is your sister's wedding. Another message. We'll pay you back. Just fix it for now. We'll settle everything after. That line, we'll settle it later. I'd heard it before. College reimbursement, the loan for Chloe's car, medical bills when my mom needed help. Later, never came. This time, it bounced off. No guilt, no hesitation, just ignored. Chloe's message came late. 1:13 a.m. I heard you canceled the venue. Tell me that's not true. I stared at that one longer than the others. Because unlike my parents, she didn't start with demands, she started with disbelief. Then the second message came. I know mom and dad said things they shouldn't have, but this is my wedding. Ethan, why would you do this to me? There it was. That framing. Like this was happening to her. Not because of a choice she made. I typed slowly. I took back my gift. A pause. Then, you were fine with me paying for the wedding. Just not fine with me being there. 3 dots appeared, stayed, disappeared, came back again. Finally, you're being dramatic. You know how mom is about appearances. The Carsons have expectations. We just needed things to stay smooth. Smooth, like removing me was a minor adjustment. Like I was a variable you could cut without affecting the outcome. I didn't reply. I turned the phone over and let it buzz itself out. The next morning, I got a message from a florist I'd worked with before. Hey, random question, your family just tried to book us last minute. No contract, no deposit. Said they'd sort it out after. We passed. I exhaled once, not surprised, just confirmed. By now, the system was collapsing exactly the way it does when you remove the core infrastructure and expect the surface to hold. The day before the wedding, a courier showed up at my apartment. White box, clean packaging, inside an expensive bouquet. White peonies. Eucalyptus. The kind of arrangement you see in styled shoots. There was a note from my mom, Ethan. We all said things in the heat of the moment. This day is bigger than any one person. Please don't let a misunderstanding ruin your sister's future. If you can fix the vendor situation, we'll talk after the honeymoon. Love, Mom, after, of course. There was a second envelope, from my dad, inside a check, roughly a third of what I'd actually fronted. Not even close, not an apology, a negotiation. I stood there in my kitchen, holding both. For a second, I could see it. The version where I made a few calls, reinstated what I could, watched from a distance while they posted perfect photos like none of this ever happened. Same pattern. Different day. I set the check down, took the bouquet to the counter, pulled one stem out, dropped it into a glass of water. The rest went in the trash. You can keep one thing, I muttered. The rest isn't mine to fix. I muted the last notification that came through and left it there. The rest of this mess that was on them. The morning of the wedding, I woke up before my alarm. No stress, no urgency, just awake. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and checked the October Summit dashboard. The vineyard date sat there with a clean green confirmed tag next to it. Locked, handled, moved on. That deposit wasn't floating in limbo anymore. It was already working for something that actually belonged to me. Around 10. My phone buzzed. A screenshot from Mark. A Facebook post from one of my mom's PTA friends. Pray for a family today. Their daughter's wedding is having major vendor issues. Can't say much, but it's bad. Underneath comments, wasn't it supposed to be at that vineyard I heard the Carsons are involved? Yikes. I stared at the screen for a second. Coffee cooling in my hand. They were spinning, trying to contain it. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't part of the damage control team. I could have stayed home, watched it play out through secondhand updates, but a thought settled in quiet, steady. I wanted to see it, not just hear about it. I wanted to see what happened when I wasn't there to hold it together. So I got dressed. Dark jeans, button down. Nothing formal, nothing careless, neutral. I grabbed my keys and headed out. The backup location wasn't hard to find. A lakeside restaurant that rented out its banquet room for last-minute events. When I pulled in, I already knew. This wasn't the wedding they planned. Inside, it looked exactly like what it was. A rushed replacement, white tablecloths under harsh lighting. A printed sign slightly crooked near the entrance. Carson Baker wedding guests hovered near the door, checking their phones. Is this really it? Someone whispered. Yeah, I said as I passed. Venue change, inside. Staff moved quickly but not smoothly. Trays of basic appetizers, no coordination, no flow. At the front, a makeshift arch. Fabric draped unevenly, no lighting design, no depth. This is what happens when you remove structure and try to fake it. Across the room, I spotted them. My mom smiled tight, eyes scanning. My dad on his phone, pacing. The Carsons clustered together. Expressions controlled but clearly not happy. Then Chloe stepped out, dress perfect, face not. Tension sat in every line of her posture. DJ's late, one bridesmaid whispered. Officiant has another ceremony. Might leave early. The photographer's still at the vineyard. Pieces missing everywhere because the system that connected them was gone. Then my mom saw me. For half a second relief. Then, it flipped. Anger. She walked straight toward me, heels sharp against the floor. You should not be here, she hissed. After what you did, this is not the time. Relax, I said. I'm not here to help. Her expression tightened. Do you have any idea what this looks like? The Carsons are furious. They should be, I said. They were promised something you couldn't deliver. My dad stepped in. Voice low but tense. What exactly did you do? I met his eyes. I moved my contracts. His jaw tightened. The venue is gone. The caterer's demanding full payment. The band says there was never a finalized agreement. What did you do? I stopped funding something I wasn't allowed to attend. Before he could respond, the mic at the front squealed. The officiant late, rushed was starting. Guests took their seats. My mom shot me one last glare. Do not make a scene. I didn't. I moved to the back and watched. The ceremony started. No vineyard, no open sky, just a generic room with bad acoustics and worse timing. Halfway through, the sound system cut out. Someone dropped a tray. A kid started crying. Everything slightly off, like the entire event was resisting the version they tried to force it into. Finally, You May Kiss the Bride. Applause. Music. Wrong track. Chloe turned. Smiling on instinct. Then her eyes hit the back of the room. Hit me. She stopped. The music stuttered. Conversations cut. Ethan, her voice, carried through the mic. Every head turned. You're not supposed to be here. I leaned against the wall. Steady. I noticed. Silence spread through the room. I also noticed my name is on every contract that made your original wedding possible, I added. Figured I'd see how it looked without me. A ripple moved through the guests. Mrs. Carson's expression sharpened. Is this why we're here? She asked. Because the original venue fell through. My mom stepped forward quickly. We had some unexpected complications. This isn't the time, my dad added. It is, I said. I pulled up the contract on my phone and held it out toward the Carsons. Brightline Events LLC, that's me. I secured the vineyard, paid the deposit, managed every vendor. A beat. When I was disinvited. I canceled, within contract terms. Clean, Mr. Carson took the phone, scanned it. His jaw tightened. So the venue wasn't actually secured by the family, he said slowly. It was secured by him. No one answered. And then you removed the person responsible, he continued. Looking at my parents, the room went still. My mom tried to recover. We were going to fix it. We just needed time. You needed him, someone muttered from the crowd. A few quiet laughs. Chloe's shoulders dropped. I didn't know the contracts were in your name, she said, voice shaking. I thought Mom and Dad handled it. I looked at her. You thought I'd keep doing the work either way. Tears built in her eyes. So, this is punishment, she said. You ruined my wedding. You're still married, I replied calmly. I didn't touch that. A pause. I just stopped being the infrastructure. Silence. Heavy. Then Daniel stepped forward. She's right, he said quietly. I told you this wasn't handled well. He looked at my parents. You don't cut someone out and expect everything they built to stay intact. No one argued. Because there wasn't anything left to argue with, I took a breath. I'm not here for an apology, I said. And I don't care what anyone in this room thinks about me. I looked at Chloe. I just needed to say this once. A beat. I'm done being useful only when it's convenient. Her face broke. So what now? She asked. I shrugged slightly. That depends on you. Then I stepped back. No shouting, no scene. Just exit. I turned and walked out the side door, leaving the noise behind me. For the first time, they were going to have to handle it themselves. Outside, the noise from the reception dulled into a low, muffled hum behind the restaurant walls. The lake stretched out in front of me, calm, flat, completely indifferent to what had just happened inside. I leaned against the railing, letting the adrenaline drain out of my system. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from release, like I'd been holding something for years and finally set it down. The door creaked behind me. You really dropped a grenade in there, Mark. I didn't turn right away. Feels more like I removed a support beam, I said. He stepped up beside me, glancing back at the door. They're scrambling. Full damage control mode. I let out a small breath. They'll figure it out. They always have you, he said. Not anymore. That was the difference. For years, don't embarrass us had been the rule, the leash, the thing that kept me stepping in, smoothing things over, fixing whatever needed fixing. Today, I let it snap. A few seconds passed, then the door opened again. I knew who it was before she spoke. Do you have a minute, Chloe? I turned. Her veil was gone, hair slightly out of place, makeup streaked just enough to show she'd stopped trying to keep it perfect. For the first time all day, she looked real. Mark gave me a quick nod and headed back inside, leaving us alone. She stepped closer but didn't come all the way up next to me. Left space between us. You didn't have to do that in front of everyone, she said. I nodded once. You're right. She blinked. Thrown off. Then, I added. I should have said it years ago. Just not in that room. Silence. She looked out at the water. They're not okay in there, she said. Mom's trying to spin it. Dad's talking to the Carsons like it's a negotiation. Of course he is. She let out a small, tired laugh. I didn't know the contracts were in your name, she said again. Quieter this time. I really didn't. I believe you. That wasn't the issue. She swallowed. I knew the text was wrong. She admitted. When Mom sent it, I knew. I just didn't stop it. There it was. Not ignorance, choice. I told myself you'd understand, she continued. That you'd still help somehow. That we'd fix it later. Later's been doing a lot of work in this family, I said. She nodded. Yeah. We stood there for a moment. Then she asked the only question that actually mattered. Are you done with us? I didn't answer right away. Because the truth wasn't simple. I'm done with the version of this where I only exist when something needs to get done, I said. That part's over. She looked down. So what does that mean? It means if there's anything left to rebuild, it's not going to look like before. No more silent agreements, no more unpaid favors, no more disappearing into the background, so everything else could look perfect. She took a slow breath. Daniel told my parents we're not going on the honeymoon until they agree to therapy, she said. He actually said the word boundaries out loud. I couldn't help it. I smiled a little. That's a start. She hesitated. Would you ever, I don't know, sit in on something like that? Not now. Just. Eventually I looked back out at the lake. Thought about the vineyard, about the October summit, about walking into a space where my name was actually attached to the outcome. Maybe, I said, if it's real, not just because things blew up. She nodded like she understood. We didn't hug. Didn't need to. That wasn't the kind of moment it was. After a minute, she headed back inside. I stayed out a little longer. Then I left. A few weeks later, I was back at the vineyard, headset on, run of show in hand, crew moving on my cues. The October summit ran exactly how it was supposed to. Clean, precise, respected. At one point, the venue manager walked up beside me. I'm really glad this date went to you, she said. The last group that tried to book something last minute here, it didn't go well. I glanced out over the setup. Yeah, I said, I heard, that night, back home. My phone buzzed. A message from Chloe, a photo. Her and Daniel sitting in an office, neutral walls, a therapist across from them. Caption session 1, no excuses this time. I looked at it for a second, then typed back, good, keep going, no emojis, no promises. Just acknowledgement. After I hit send, I opened my notes app and wrote something I probably should have understood years ago. You're allowed to step back from people who only value you when you're useful. Even if they're family. Especially if they're family. If you were in my position, where would you have drawn the line? Would you have kept the peace? Or would you have done exactly what I did? Because for me, this wasn't about ruining a wedding. It was about refusing to disappear just so everyone else could look perfect. And that's a line I'm not crossing again. If this story hit you in any way, stick around. There's more like this. And just a quick note, this story was created by the Fish Tells Stories team for entertainment purposes only. Don't take it as advice or try to recreate anything you've heard here. See you in the next one.